Hi, I'm Billie Stevens.
Hey, I'm Noele Shannon.
And you're watching Building Our Brands. So, welcome. This is our very first episode. It's a vlog, video blog, podcast, and a lot of cool stuff that we're going to be doing with this.
Yeah.
So, let me introduce you to your main key players. I'm Billie Stevens. I am a singer, songwriter, guitar player. And just basic musician. I write songs and then go play them for people. And real quick history on me so you know who you're dealing with. I've been playing guitar for a really long time. Back in the late 90s, early 2000s, the band I was in signed a major label record deal with Warner Brothers Music. Actually, it was Maverick Records. It was Madonna's label, which was a sub of Warner Brothers. Mm-hmm. That band was called Wank, and we went out and had videos on MTV and toured all over. And I did that for a few years, and then put out a couple records. And then that band broke up, and I started a new band called Handsome Devil. And we signed RCA Records. Same thing, had videos out on MTV and Much Music Canada. Remember them?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, went out, toured all over US, Europe, just pretty much everywhere. And that band actually put out 3 records. And then pretty much after that, I stepped away from the touring and started producing records. And for a little chunk of time, produced, I was thinking about it, I produced probably over 400 records.
Wow, that's amazing.
In the time that I was working. Mm-hmm. And now I'm back to playing. I love producing. I don't do it as much anymore because I really miss performing. And
yeah, it's a little bit about you, right?
That's a little bit about me. And Noele.
Yeah, Noele Shannon here. I am at this stage in my life and where I hope to continue to stay eternally because, who doesn't want that, right?
Yeah.
I'm an event producer, and I have been in this specific line of business probably for about the last 10 to 15 years, but a little bit of background on me. I grew up very heavily in the music and entertainment industry. From about 16 years old on, started kind of honing my skills really early, and kind of got interested in the music scene. Did a lot of booking on a very small scale and kind of just gradually increased what I did over the years. So I have done everything from booking to tour managing for Billboard Top 10 artists, major label recording artists as well. Gone out, done some tour managing, of course, booking concerts and shows, and then kind of just found my way into this little passion niche of event production. However, I have spent a number of years being hired by corporate entities to manage events, kind of go on site and kind of crack the whip and run stuff for them. And now I'm producing my own events, and that's one particular brand we're going to be talking about a lot in this journey, Wild West Steam Fest. So That's a themed entertainment type of event in an immersive location in Santa Ana, California, at the Heritage Museum. And so I think part of the process of us talking about this whole thing that we do, even though we do very different things, is kind of taking what we know from the past and making it relevant for what works today.
Absolutely. So that actually leads me, since we're learning about each other and letting the world know all about us. Actually, we've been friends for several years.
Yep.
Known each other for what seems like forever.
Yeah, true.
And but to share with you guys, we're going to do a little back and forth and kind of like let you guys in, let everybody in on who we are and like some of the nuances that this program and podcast is going to be bringing everybody.
It's going to be like the day-to-day. We're basically just documenting
our
journeys and hoping that you will join us and maybe learn from us, and maybe we can learn from you too.
Absolutely. So Noele.
Yes.
Let's talk about You said you started in an entertainment family-ish, or at least when you were in your teenage years, you were involved with a lot of entertainment industry.
Yeah.
So let's go back to that time. How would people, because you're an event manager, event organizer, producer, how back then would you go about promoting, or let's say you were going to go do something? What kind of things would you do back then?
So, of course, that was a hot second ago. Thank goodness for rose hip oil, is all I gotta say.
At least 4.5 years.
So definitely trends have changed. You all know this because likely you are watching us on your little computer box phone thingy you hold in your hand. Mobile applications. A lot of stuff has totally changed. 20 plus years ago, the forums were very different. So a lot of the stuff that I did was very grassroots. I still apply a very much grassroots approach to a lot of the things that I do. But the traditional marketing is a completely different demographic now. So things back then, flyering, like physical flyers, which still happens, and that's still relevant. But it's the technology now has put us into an entirely new landscape.
Yeah.
So flyering, going out to places, building those relationships with people, and kind of like the face to face was super important back then. It's definitely still important now, but it's a little bit of a different game, and I think that that's what we're here to talk about.
Absolutely. Now, when what type of events would you go to? Like concerts, or would it be more like, I remember hearing stories about dance parties?
Oh my gosh, yeah. So all kinds of different stuff. I grew up, like I said, I had a lot of friends that were on TV shows. Actually, probably some that are like have recycled, if you will, and that are popular again.
Well, love you, David.
So a lot of TV shows and stuff like that. We would go to private celebrity teen club parties, kind of go out and sort of mix and mingle and, build those relationships with the influencers, if you will, back then. I would go to everything from concerts, like live music concerts, if there was a specific show, maybe like on a smaller scale that I wanted to promote, but I wanted to reach out to that same type of demographic, go to those. Music awards, ceremonies, things like that. I loved going to the Billboard Music Awards or the MTV Music Awards, things like that, because you always want to be able to, I just wanted to be grassroots and kind of just get in the mix with the people and be in the know. And stuff like that still happens today. I mean, conventions like NAMM, which is the National Association of Music Merchants, all these people kind of come together under one roof, and all that networking is there. So networking is still super important.
Yeah.
And it's still doing it to this day.
Cool. So in the evolution of going to teenage dance parties to actually producing events, it seems like back then you were able to, pretty much if you got a spot, you could have a party.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's a little different now, huh?
Well, I mean, now you have to pay money. You have to rent a spot. Not to say that you wouldn't then, but it's definitely a different animal when you come touting a name. And you can come into a place and say, hey, this will be, it's about influencers, right? And so that's definitely something I think we'll talk about a lot. But,
that's going to be a huge part of this.
But being an influencer, right? So if you're on a, network TV show that's on once a week, it's really easy for you to walk into a space and kind of be like, hey, I want this space to have, whatever it is that we want to do, these parties and stuff. So now it's just a whole different animal. It's renting a space, it's permitting, and going through all of the hoops, if you will, to kind of bring everything together and make it one cohesive event.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that we're definitely planning on incorporating into this vlog and podcast is there is a certain amount of unfortunate, if you will, adulting that goes into what we do now that we didn't have to deal with, but the dynamic with what how on social media and the internet you can reach out to people is its whole animal. It's really a whole different thing. And so,
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's so in throwing it back to you. Basically, tell me a little, and our viewers are two of you maybe right now, but we're gonna grow, right? You're gonna grow with us. How long have you been doing what you do as a creator and artist?
well, as a musician, it's actually been about 20 years. Well, 20 years ago was probably when I landed my first record deal.
Right.
And then I probably had, I mean, if you want to look at it, probably 10 years of being in a big pond with a lot of money behind me. And then almost 10 years of producing records. And then maybe the last year, maybe two-ish, not to be too exact, but I've been back to playing again.
Okay.
And so if you go back to
Yeah, take it back. Tell us some stories and stuff.
well, it was a different animal. The back when I got my first record deal, radio was king.
Yeah.
If you
I
wanted
remember that.
if you wanted to be famous, you needed a video on MTV and you needed your song on the radio.
On the radio.
And
I think that was the
those
name of one of your songs too.
yeah, from back in the day.
Uh-huh.
So in making that happen, not everybody had access to do that. There was a small elite that once you got into the game,
Yeah.
then you competed at that level. But it was almost like until you did, you weren't in that level.
Yeah.
So, that the thing that now is so different is back then, if you were on MTV, if you were on the radio, people didn't need to see you every day.
Yeah.
And one thing I'm noticing from social media and the internet is there needs to be this constant connection.
Yeah.
And we're gonna cover a lot of that.
Yeah.
And one of the things I find interesting is like I could be out on the road for 6 months seeing people every night, but if I wasn't constantly online reinforcing, hey, I'm gonna be here, I'm doing this, hey, checking in from the venue, it's almost like I don't exist.
And what's really funny on that note, with you bringing it up and a weird kind of tie-in with what you do for a living and what I have done and continue to do for a living, kind of earlier on, in my career, I worked helping to manage street teams and fan clubs for people. And one of the really vital, key, important things that I found that I was able to do back then was help to maintain that connection and be that bridge in between the fans and the artists.
Yeah. So the artists, back then, the artists didn't do that.
Yeah.
There was a street team, there was a publicist, there was, and even some of the bigger artists today work that route. Ariana Grande, well, if she is keeping up on her social media, she may not be as active as, let's say, a 15-year-old girl who wants to show you, hey, it's another morning, here's my shoes. Hey, there's my bagel again today, it's blueberry.
Yum.
Yeah, but there's still that publicist and like artists like her and Demi Lovato are going to be on the radio.
Yeah.
But it's that part has gotten even smaller. And there's a lot more artists that are at even that used to be on major labels or maybe still are on labels are working the hell out of social media.
Yep.
And their website and everything because, I see bands that I toured the Warped Tour with.
Yeah.
And guys I know from being on tour, they're posting 4 times a day on Snapchat, doing their Instagram story so that everybody knows,
They're still relevant.
I'm still relevant,
Yeah.
but they're still doing big tours. And that I find is the happy medium for in my line of work is where you kind of want to be. But the one thing I'm excited about this program that we're doing is that we're going to constantly be looking at new features that are coming out on different things, because one thing that I learned, and I'll even throw this back to you, is whenever a new platform or a new feature on a platform comes out, whoever masters it first and uses it first gets the lion's share of the attention.
Benefits. Yeah.
Because, like when Facebook, just real quick, switched over to doing live feeds,
Oh, right.
they wanted their videos to compete with other social media platforms. So they would take your live video and give it more weight and put it in front of more people than just your picture.
True. Yeah, and I see that happening all the time for my event, Wild West Steam Fest. I actually just get more engagement on the live video than I do like on a static picture. I really do.
And more people are seeing it. And if you take that back to like even a new platform, when MySpace came out, and yeah, we might be dating ourselves a little bit.
It still exists, so
but
we're good.
yeah. But the people that jumped on that soon, as you know, all of a sudden, you got Tila Tequila, you got Jeffree Star, Metal Sanaz. I can't say that ever.
Tom. I was one of the first people on MySpace myself, and I had...
And you were Noele from MySpace.
Just Noele from MySpace, no joke. And it was a very organic grow, but because I was one of the first people, I always showed up in everybody's feed as somebody to add. So my numbers grew very quickly.
And it's funny because we were friends. We've been friends for so long. And I remember talking to people, and they're like, "Oh my God, you know Noele from MySpace?"
So weird.
And it's interesting, but that's one thing that we're going to be able to do, since our goal with this is to be putting up 5 episodes a week, 1 a day, Monday through Friday.
Yep.
And in doing that, we can stay relevant, so that if a new feature comes out, a new platform or anything, we want to be able to share with you or share tips on how to take advantage or things we read. This is going to be a big opportunity for the people that subscribe to stay on top of that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're going to be depending on you guys, people that are viewing, to reach out to us to also, if you see something that we don't, we can address it, research it, try it. Because this whole thing is a documentation. We're all in this together.
Community, for sure. Like, we're just kind of like, we're willing to put ourselves out there to say, hey, we want to build our brands.
Yeah.
And let's just kind of come from 2 different sides of the coin, and let's come together and get together with other people who are also interested in building their brands.
Right.
And I think we can all really help each other out, and I think that's part of the process, is just kind of being, like, for us, it's just very transparent, just make it very raw and very real and organic, and just like, hey, this is every day, and today, here's what we're going to try. So it's going to be definitely up to our viewership and our friends online to also contribute as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And we're going to find in that, with the viewers reaching out and then us on it every day, we also have our strengths. I spend more time on Snapchat than Noele does, but she spends more time on Twitter than I do. And we both have our independent websites. And I run mine in WordPress, and you run yours in
Wix.
So, there's 2. We're doing a lot of different things. And what I think is really important is how this applies to the people who are watching or listening. Because...
Hi, 2 friends right now.
10. We got 10 friends. I know it. I feel it. I see you logging on. Yep. And the cool thing about this is we're not selling anything. This isn't your typical, oh, here's an ad to buy our program. We'll make you rich. This is us doing us, sharing it with you. And then depending on if you want to reach out and say, hey, try this, or I heard about that. And we're willing to put in the time to try it on our brands. And then in return, we can let you know how it worked out, what was going on.
Exactly. Let us be the guinea pigs, sort of, if you will.
Yeah, and even if you're a plumber, people don't realize how big YouTube can be for plumbing.
It's true. I mean, I can't even express to you how many times, not necessarily plumbing tutorials, but I go to YouTube for all kinds of tutorials.
Yeah.
And it's pretty amazing how many people are out there, and that's just a platform that they can use to share their skill set with people.
And the other thing too is on top of that, that's their brand. So let's say they share how to do something, but then they also at the end of their video put up serving the greater Southern Illinois area, and you happen to live there and your water heater's broke. You now have somebody that you've watched, you have your own opinion of what they do, and that makes you already have some sort of rapport. So we're going to be talking about how this branding doesn't just build both of our brands, but can work for anybody watching, and it can we're going to cover meta tags. We're going to cover how to really get the most on just a trial and error basis of what we can do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Jumping back into any comments that maybe viewers have to, want to leave, any interaction that you guys want to provide with us. BTW, so doing my nails next week, just so you know. It's that in between time, right?
Fair enough.
I'm a very hands-on person, So we have a lot of friends in the business that we've over the years built relationships with, a lot of different influencers, maybe names of people you may or may not know, that we can kind of bring on, that maybe will either guest with us or interact in some way. That'll kind of add a little extra kick to what we're doing.
Yeah, and that's really exciting because like Noelle said, we know so many people just over the years that it's all of a sudden you have a friend that's got 300,000 Instagram followers, and you're like, oh gee, yeah, and it's like, what did they do other than just post content? And everybody will say, oh, this comes down to content. It comes down to just post this and the people will show up. That's great. But there is shortcuts and strategies.
Yeah. And one of the things that, in the process of sometimes building those relationships or becoming friends with influencers, one of the things that I noticed is the engagement that these people decide to have with, Joe Schmo or John Smith or whomever is on the other end, right? So, I could be, nobody and reaching out to somebody, and they take the time. Well, thank you. They take the time to engage and build that relationship. So I think that that's really important, because what I've noticed over the years, especially in regards to my event, is taking the time to actually get to know people and feel a little bit more of just a human connection and a little bit more of a personal touch. And then that's kind of keeps those people sort of continuing on your journey with you, which is really cool.
And that actually puts value into your brand, because people say, oh, Noelle, I went to one of her events. I talked to her. She is awesome. I will go when she does more events.
And the same thing too with you, at the end of the show, because I know not only from knowing you for years, but just you're a people person, very social, that you're going to take the time after a show or before the show to kind of hang out and bro down for a few minutes. And it's just nice. It's important to just feel like we matter, and we're people too, all of us.
Absolutely.
So,
and there's there's strategies for doing that online without leaving your house, but still making that connection.
Yeah.
So we have a lot to cover, and like I said, we're gonna be working on. The goal is to put this out, and the reason why I say goal is because you never know what's gonna come up.
True.
But our goal is to drop a video every day, Monday through Friday, and
that means we're gonna have coffee together. Just FYI.
Yeah. Oh, cheers. Cheers.
Yeah. There might be something in here.
Woohoo! Yeah. So at the end of the show, it gets a little sloppy. Sloppy show.
All right.
Okay. So another thing that, just to give everybody heads up, you will find either in the description or the comments of every platform we put this out on, links to our other social media, our personal brands, and what we're doing to make this community grow. So if you're an Instagram user, but your friend was listening to the podcast, but you'd rather see a shorter video on Instagram, you'd rather watch a medium length video on YouTube, we're going to be uploading content to all the platforms, and it's going to fit better within that platform to make it more easily
accessible.
Yep.
For what works for you. So we're thinking of you too. Just FYI.
Yeah. So always, when you see something, go down to the comments, and you can see where we're on other social media. You can see how we're doing, and I think that's that pretty much is important, because if we're going to be the guinea pigs, we want to make sure that we're trying as much new stuff as we can.
Yeah, and we're always open to whatever you guys have to throw our way. So let's just take the journey together and let's see what sticks.
Absolutely. Cool.
Right.
Question for you, since we're looking at editing this a little bit. Do you want to just try to go 10 more minutes and then turn this into split in half for part 1, part 2?
What are we going to talk about?
The show, a little more about the show.
Okay. Yeah.
Because that way then we don't have to change and people know it's a part 1, part 2.
Yeah, go. Let's do it.
Okay. So, one thing that I'm really excited, another aspect that I'm so thrilled about with this program is how we're going to, that's 30 seconds we'll just clip right out of there. Okay. Point of value. No, I don't even like going there. Okay, deep breath. New face, relax. So Noelle, I wanted to take a second and kind of discuss some of the things that I currently do online that will kind of let everybody know where I'm starting from.
Okay.
So I have my own website.
Yep.
I have it set up where I'm capable of doing a monthly newsletter. I do not, because I always either forget or get caught up. So part of this program is going to be good because it's going to hold me accountable for doing updates and keeping up on stuff.
So that means send them a note and say, hey, I didn't get your newsletter.
Yep, and then I will have to write out a newsletter and send it to you. Starting March. No, as soon as this goes up, the beginning of every month I want to do a newsletter. I have a YouTube. I'm horrible about posting YouTube videos because I come from the school of a video is a production.
Yeah.
It's, and I'm spending more time on YouTube. Yeah. So I'm seeing more artists. Hey, you caught me walking from my car to the gym. Just wanted to say, what's up, people?
I do lots of parking lot videos, FYI.
And see, I need to get better at that. Yeah. So, like we mentioned, we have our strengths. We have our things we need to work on. Realistically, I probably have less than 100 YouTube subscribers.
I have less than that, so.
And so you guys get to watch us build that up. So we're not coming into this with huge accounts. My artist page on Facebook has about 800 likes on it.
Yeah.
There are people, I would say 95% of them I personally know from playing shows and being fans from the past.
Right.
But you don't build your brand. You don't grow your base depending on that. And so we're going to be covering a lot of strategies. Now you have more people on your Facebook page, right?
I do, yeah. So my Facebook is doing okay. My Instagram's a little less. My Twitter's actually the least. Or I should probably say my Snapchat is the least.
Yeah.
The smallest amount. So there's some platforms, and YouTube's pretty much next to zero for me. So there's places where I'm going to be basically starting from zero, from nowhere. And just trying to utilize all of those different platforms to build the brand.
And it's cool because we're developing habits that we don't have. So for the viewers that are watching us and are like, hey, you know what? I'd really like to be able to get more reach on Instagram. I have 1,000, 1,100 people on Instagram.
Same here.
Yeah, that's not a lot. Pretty much most of my friends, just regular friends, are in the same ballpark. And even if you're at like 300, 400, it's not a big gap when we're trying to see our friends that are influencers that have 150,000, 250,000. So that's where we want to take this journey.
Yeah.
And that's the opportunity for having everybody with us, is we're going to be explaining, okay, here's tips you can do to remind yourself, hey, you know what? I just did this. It's a good time for an Instagram picture. And then we'll be covering the differences of, hey, maybe this is story worthy and not so much post worthy. Because
it's a challenge for sure to get into the mindset of, going out, like when you're on tour or doing a show or whatever the case may be, or having, like, I do socials for my event, so that's an opportunity for me as the event producer, because while an event's happening, I can't really engage with people very much. I got to run the show, right? So I can say hi to people, and that's about it. So I try and create opportunities for just, relationship building and seeing those people on a more personal level. But it is hard to remember to be like, oh, I got to film this. Yeah. And I got to put it out there because maybe people weren't able to come and they want to see what's going on. And so just getting that to be like second nature. And I think that's going to be part of this process too.
And just to give you a couple examples, but to also name drop a little bit, I was talking to my friends in the band Lit. Remember them from the 90s and 2000s?
I do. Some good songs.
Yeah. They just did a summer tour, and I met up with them, was hanging out with them, and I was talking to the guys, and we were talking about this very thing, social media, and they said as a band, they kept reminding each other, who posted last? Oh my God, it's been 3 days. Somebody get on the Snapchat. Okay, who's got Instagram? And it's one of those things to where it really needs to be a habit. And
we're like reconditioning ourselves because this is a whole new era.
Yeah.
When we started, it was so different to where we are now. And with developing, myself kind of like developing into different projects over the years, yourself, just the music industry's changed,
Absolutely. And, I teach, and so I'm around teenagers a lot because I teach music. And I cannot tell you in a 30-minute lesson, they have to do 3 different social media posts. Or walking in, they're like, here at my lessons again. And it's like, wow. So it's there. It's a culture that we're trying to like you said, recondition. But then there's certain people that are doing a great job. There's my buddy Joe Hutchinson, who used to be in a band in the 90s called the Zeros. Oh God, I love them. So if you guys want a really cool pop punk band from the 90s, look up the Zeros. And I just played with Joe at a little just like songwriter thing where we got guitars and got up and sang some songs. And he live streamed the whole thing. And he does so much stuff where he's live streaming and posting. And so there's somebody who's in our demographic, but who is latched on, is like really putting in the effort. So that's another thing that is going to help us, and hopefully you by watching, is by us doing this every day and checking in, it gives you guys the opportunity, it gives us the opportunity, anybody that writes in, to say, oh, that's right. A cool reminder is when at this time of the day, be sure to do an Instagram post. Every holiday you can think of, Snapchat comes out with a whole new list of filters.
I know, it's crazy. And also,
my pumpkin pie was very popular.
Good God. No, but speaking of, like, when you're talking about, so that will be one of the things we talk about too on the program, is like, what are good days of the week and good times to post on various platforms. And that's constantly changing. The algorithm's always changing. And so, for us as creators and content makers, we got to stay on top of that. Yeah. So, but we might need your help. I mean, you may have some tips or something like that might be, pivotal to us having more success. We don't know. It's a journey that we are just like, okay, let's just do this and let's take people along for the ride.
And that's why we're happy to have you on board. And if you look down in the comments or in the description, you'll see our Twitter, Snapchat, both our Facebook pages, but also the Facebook page for Building Our Brands.
Yeah.
You'll see the YouTube for Building Our Brands. We're going to be posting on these platforms. So your comments or your messages, DMs, anything that you want to put together that come to us, we're going to be addressing those and bringing them up. And so it's a good way for all of us to connect and build a community because, you know, who knows, maybe you're a dance instructor.
Yeah.
And I may not be ready for teen jazz dance lessons.
Right.
But that does not mean that kids of the people that buy my records or the people that buy my records wouldn't want to check that out. So building this community is really an opportunity for everybody involved to run with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's make this our internet.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Cool.
So we want to say thanks to everybody for being part of this. And we're really depending on you guys because we're going to be taking you along with us. You can take us along with you. We're
in your pocket on your phone.
There you go. We're building it. And it's cool because, you know, there's already people out there that are owning so many different platforms. But we're also going to be talking about the not popular platforms or the new ones or the old ones. You know, 2015, which is now, what, 1 million years ago?
Gosh, yeah.
You know, there was a platform called YouNow that came out to challenge YouTube. And they're not really all that big or all that popular, but that doesn't mean that in certain markets or for certain demographics, they still have a value.
No, it's true. Because, like, I remember, you know, I'm not exactly sure the year that MySpace came out, but I want to say 2009, MySpace and Friendster were kind of like neck and neck.
Yep.
And Friendster was actually more popular, and you had like people write endorsements for you and all this stuff, and then for some reason MySpace just came and took over. I haven't seen or heard much about Friendster. I don't even know if it still exists, and shame on me if it does. But MySpace is still relevant. You know,
And people use it for music.
Yeah, I was going to say, doesn't Timberlake own it? I want to say Justin Timberlake. I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah.
Owns MySpace. So, I mean, you know, even over the years, it's still stayed relevant.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a big part of this journey too. Is like, how do we still stay relevant? You know, as the times change and technology changes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is, opposite side of that same coin is how do you stay relevant, but at the same time, once you identify your niche, you may not need to do Twitter. You may find everything you need on YouTube. You may find everything you need on something else.
Yeah.
You know, we're in my little world right now, Facebook's huge.
Right.
Facebook's big, and you know, if you, I guess, talk to Zuckerberg or any of those guys, Facebook's it. But I'm finding more and more younger fans, and they like my music because my music still, you know, I haven't matured enough to write old people music. So I still have a lot of new fans that are coming on that are 13, 15.
Right.
And, you know, I made the choice to really push my last music video on Facebook, not so much on YouTube.
Yeah.
Now I'm reaching out to these kids that they'll hit me up on Instagram and they go, oh my God, you know, are you playing a show? I go, yeah, you want to hear my video? Oh yeah. Or you want to see my video, hear my music? Sure. I'll go, okay, and I'll send a link, which goes to Facebook, and they're like, oh, I don't have a Facebook. And the world is bigger, because I was just talking yesterday to a girl in Australia that if she watches this, I'll give a shout out to Emily. And that was it. She's like, I got Instagram and a few other social media. But so if I want to go play in Australia and I want to build my street team, Facebook is not going to be the place to do it.
And that poses the question, do street teams still exist? Do you know? I don't know. Like, I'm curious. Like, do they still exist? I mean, or is it only that street teams and fan clubs are existing for, you know, people such as ourselves, myself specifically, maybe like a little bit more of small potatoes, you know, and that maybe is just more helpful to somebody starting down here, right? Because obviously JTT, love him.
Yeah.
Probably doesn't need a street team. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So I don't know, but that's like, those are the types of questions and things that I wonder about, like with technology, where it's at now and all these different platforms, like what's viable, what works.
And virtual street teams. You know, Facebook did a big push a couple years ago on their Facebook groups because they wanted to build a street team community in an online platform. And so they made Facebook groups where people could not have, you could already have your business page. You could already have your personal page, but your group was going to be where everybody talked amongst each other, and you did not have to be the middle, the connector of every part of it. And that's not too different from a street team, but yet it is. And so Facebook owns Instagram. So as Instagram evolves, what are they going to do to try to incorporate that? Or what is, you know, YouTube going to do to try to get, and then there's the pure audio, because we are doing a podcast. There's SoundCloud. There's a lot of rappers that are SoundCloud famous. And there is Spotify. We're going to be streaming and running stuff on everything available.
There's Pandora.
There's Pandora, and there's also iTunes and Amazon, Google Play.
Apple Music. All kinds of stuff.
So we're going to be trying to cover as much as we can, but then also reporting what works for us, what doesn't work as well for us, and then we're going to depend on you to let us know why something that may not work for us works for you.
I mean, let us know. I mean, we want to know.
Well, yeah, because
not only just for us, but like, you know, as just a general, I think, curiosity as entrepreneurs and creators, like just having that knowledge, I think is really critical.
I think I'm really excited about this program, this video blog podcast. However we're cutting it up for wherever it's going, I'm really excited because we're not scripted, we're not selling anything. We're coming out saying, okay, this is what our communication is, this is what I found out, I was messing around, I read something, I got an email from Gary Vaynerchuk that said, hey, check this out. And so I did. You know, that does not mean you're going to see me on TikTok doing my little videos. But it doesn't mean that I won't set up a profile or set up something to communicate with people there, because that might be a good platform. And we're all in this. We're all starting, you know.
Somewhere, right?
What is it? December 1st today?
No, that'll be Saturday, actually.
It's
December 1st. But
okay, so today's December 2nd.
Today is not even December. We are still in November.
When everybody watches this will be December 2nd.
Yay, December 2nd.
Okay.
Yay, today.
So, it's all...
like, December.
You're like, you're fucked up. Okay. So like today is December 2nd, right? No. 3rd.
It's the 3rd.
Today is December 3rd.
Right.
So we're going to be running these out. For example, we kind of talked a lot today. We might end up making this 2 separate ones. So that way we're not going to overload people with stuff and what we're doing. But the cool thing is we're going to be coming into this every day, talking about new stuff. This is going to be an ongoing part of our life now. You guys just made the routine.
Topics. I was going to say, it's kind of like a cool TV show at home-ish.
It's Billie and Noel's world. Party time.
Excellent.
Woo!
Yeah, cool. Well, I'm tired just thinking about all the things we're going to do. Wow, amazing.
Yeah, I'm going to go...
do some online stuff, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm going to log on to a computer. Maybe I'll post a picture of my feet. I got some new kicks. Check it out. Puma.
Oh, yeah, total.
Dude, I love those.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
Dude, they good, right? Kicks are Insta-worthy. They're Snapchat-worthy. They might not be worth a YouTube video unless I could moonwalk. And then they would be worth it.
All right.
I got so much to talk about. I'm going to love this. She's thrilled.
Uh-huh. Can you tell?
Yeah. So thank you for tuning in
Thanks,
and being
guys.
part of building our brands.
Yay!
And we will see you guys soon.
Next time. Bye.